We're the idlers, we're the skivers, we're the undeserving poor. See how prettily we curtsy and we bow. See us stand with cap in hand again outside the rich man's door, for the new Victorian age is dawning now. And we mind our manners as before, we watch our Q's and P's. We're grateful for the handouts, and we'll always try to please. And we will not raise our heads when they prefer us on our knees, for we're only idle, undeserving poor. But we're knocking at the door, knocking at the door, and a penny in the poor man's hat will no longer do. They'd better open wide and let us come inside, for the knocking's nearly over, then the door's coming through.
We were jumped up little Ikes and Dirks, the undeserving poor, when we found ourselves the masters for a day. For we'd fought and bled and died a lot to win their second war, and we thought we'd earned the right to have a say. So we sang of New Jerusalem, they didn't like the song. They threw their spanners in the works and laughed when all went wrong. And we should have known they'd never let us be the masters long. Not the jumped up oiks, the undeserving poor. But we're knocking at the door, knocking at the door, and a penny in the poor man's hat will no longer do. They'd better open wide and let us come inside, for the knocking's nearly over, then the door's coming through.
Then they taught us to be selfish, never had it so good poor, and they dangled such a tempting juicy fly. And we saw their shabby goodies in an I'm all right Jack store, and we couldn't wait to rush inside and buy. For then money was the Godhead and the only gospel greed. We sold our gains to fill the art man's non-existent needs, with a mess of tatty trinkets and a pile of plastic beads. And we stayed the idle, undeserving poor. But we're knocking at the door, knocking at the door, and a penny in the poor man's hat will no longer do. They'd better open wide and let us come inside, for the knocking's nearly over, then the door's coming through.
Still we trusted in their promises, we undeserving poor, when they said we marched towards some sunlit plain. All the dark times were behind us, only golden days before, but it turned into the same old lies again. For they gave the rope we asked for, and we didn't have a care, as they showed us to the scaffold, and we blithely climbed the stair. Then they kicked away the trap and left us hanging in the air, and we're hanging still, the undeserving poor. But we're knocking at the door, knocking at the door, and a penny in the poor man's hat will no longer do. They'd better open wide and let us come inside, for the knocking's nearly over, then the door's coming through.
And if you're not yet enlisted in the army of the poor, never fear, you've call-up papers on the way. Or perhaps you think you're fireproof. Well, you'd better think some more, for your turn is coming soon some future day. They don't need you on the land now, nor on the factory floor. They won't even need you when they go and start the final war. Best be ready when they start to ask what do they need you for, when you're only idle, undeserving poor. But we're knocking at the door, knocking at the door, and a penny in the poor man's hat will no longer do. They'd better open wide and let us come inside, for the knocking's nearly over, then the door's coming through.
But you haven't done your duty when you've sung about the poor, if you never lift a hand to ease their plight. If you sing the chorus louder, it might ease your conscience more, but pious thoughts do not excuse you from the fight.
For the times are getting harder, and we haven't seen the worst. They still foul the wells of plenty, while so many die of thirst. So we will rebuild Jerusalem, but clean the temple first, and they'll wish they'd taken pity on the poor. But we're knocking at the door, knocking at the door, and a penny in the poor man's hat will no longer do. They'd better open wide and let us come inside, for the knocking's nearly over, then the door's coming through. Aye, we're knocking at the door, knocking at the door, and a penny in the poor man's hat will no longer do. They'd better open wide and let us come inside, for the knocking's nearly over, then the door's coming